Well, tonight we assess government's performance and we are shifting to the Bomas of Kenya for the shift, where my colleague Regina Manyara is tonight hosting two principal secretaries under the Ministry of ICT. Regina, good evening. Of Kenya, where tonight we are holding the shifts from the Bomas of Kenya, and my colleague Regina Manyara is set to host two principal secretaries. That is Professor Edward Kisiangani Waso, Principal Secretary, Broadcasting and Telecommunications, Engineer John Tanui, Principal Secretary, ICT and Digital Economy. And tonight they will be looking at the government scorecard 2024. These are the achievements, the challenges the government has faced, and what is the way forward for the country. Remember this as the government is looking into various issues in enhancing development that touches on housing and also employment, and all these as they are also keen on creating employment, especially on the digital space. Taking it back some time back when the president says it'll be a matter of time that tutafinya computer na dola itoke. Regina Manyara will be bringing us the details on that as they delve into matters on ICT and development in the country. But before we get to that, let's have a look at one of the developing stories tonight. Small-scale millers and micro-food processors are set to benefit from a 1.5 billion shillings credit facility to boost nutrition. Global Alliance for Improved Nutrition Food Financing Manager Paulie Mongera says the credit facility will mainly target medium and small-scale millers to add fortification lines at their plants to improve nutrition. Well, Regina Manyara says she's ready to take us on this shift. Let's go over to the Bomas of Kenya.
Thank you very much, Mchuma. We are indeed coming to you live from the Bomas of Kenya, the cultural dome here, and we are shifting, just as we mentioned, and today we are looking at the last 12 months where the government has faced a cocktail of challenges as well made big wins. To just document some of the milestones, we're looking at the rollout of the affordable housing projects. We have support to MSMEs, the climate action initiatives, as well as the rollout of the Social Health Authority, agricultural reforms, as well as the digital superhighway. On the flip side, though, political turbulence has marred the year, with youth-led protests, rejection of the finance bill, a cabinet dissolution, and the impeachment of a deputy president. Tonight on The Shift, we take a look at these developments through the lens of the Ministry of Information Communication and the digital economy. So joining us tonight, live from the Bomas of Kenya, is Principal Secretary Edward Kisiangani, who is in charge of broadcast and telecommunications, as well as his counterpart, Engineer John Tanui, in charge of ICT and the digital economy. Good evening once again. This is A Shift, and I am Regina Manyara. Gentlemen, thank you very much for making time and your patience there.
Thank you.
So let's hit the ground running. So how do you rank the government's performance, on a scale of 1 to 10? Let's start off with you, PS ICT.
Regina, I would say we've made substantial foundational work. I would rank it 7.
7. What about you, PS Kisiangani, in charge of broadcast and telecommunications, on a scale of 1 to 10?
8.
8.
Yes.
So, why 7, why 8?
I would say In terms of achievement, 7 to me, it's already a very significant progress. You look at the 5 focus areas that government has prioritized for economic transformation: the agriculture, MSME, housing, and digital superhighway. These are very fundamental, and they are quite substantive in terms of the impact to our economy. We've laid significant foundation in across all these sectors. When you talk about agriculture, we are very proud that the cost of living has actually been realized, reaching a level where inflation has reached its lowest. Cost of food has really come down. To me, that's a very big achievement. Housing, we've now moved to a very significant progress that over the years, the number of housing that we've done probably in the last 3 years is about 1,000 units. Now we are talking about over 130,000 units of housing going on. These are significant achievement going there. When you talk about healthcare, which was a very priority area, we spent quite a lot of time laying the foundation, preparation, the legislation that needed to be in place, and now the transitioning that has been taking place. So this is quite a good achievement. So when I look for good foundation
for
and,
7
and
the key areas.
and a great takeoff.
A great takeoff. Justify the 8 out of 10.
I think when you look at leadership, Regina, leadership is about facing challenges. And this government has demonstrated the resilience to deal with challenges. It's never a bed of roses. So led by the President William Ruto, the leadership of this country has endured turbulence. And the fact that they have stabilized, it has stabilized the country the way it is, that is a plus. Now, if you add to what Engineer Tanui is talking about, the foundational setting of our agenda, then you look at a leadership which has resilience. And then you also look at where we were in 2022, and we struggled in 23 because a lot of foundational work had not been done. And now you have a currency which was 170 thereabouts to a dollar, and now it is exchanging at 28 to 32 within that range, stabilizing our currency against the big currencies. This, and then paying our debts on time, which has increased the credibility of our country, and internationally, the president bringing the plight of Africa in environmental matters to the whole world, to the UN, to think about Africa. I think we have not only looked internally at our own challenges, but our relevance internationally through the leadership of the president has been outstanding. So when you look at that, I don't think the emphasis would always go to Regina, the challenges we get, but nobody gives credit to the fact that this country has been stabilized by very informed leadership. So that is why I'm saying 8 is a fair judgment.
So PS, from you, 8 because of resilience, and we have a great start and stability.
Yes.
For you, 7, a great foundation and great takeoff.
Yes.
Thank you now for that. Now that we've had that conversation, now there's a fine line between development and politics. And as public officers, what has been, your experience communicating development stories without appearing to cross into the political divide? Let's start off with you, Professor Kisimu.
I think you don't do development in isolation. Development occurs in an environment which is political. So development is also politics in a different form. This is more disciplined politics when you're doing development. Politics deals with the distribution of resources. It talks about distribution of resources. What are you doing in politics? It deals with everything within a polity, but which it touches on the distribution of resources. Why do people do politics? People do politics because politics determines how you live, where you live, what you eat. We are implementing the main thing, which is what politicians talk about. They talk about all these things about the welfare of the people, but they do not have a lot of time to to again implement what they are talking about. So we are serving politicians, and we serve politicians by implementing what they tell us to do, because they have legitimacy, they were voted in. So really the thin line is there, but we are not going out. We don't care about what politicians say, whether they support one section or another, whether they are quarreling over particular territories. That's not our job. Okay. Our job is whether, even when they are quarreling, we serve them with dedication, and they are equal citizens. We don't care about the disagreements, because that disagreement usually is sorted out during the elections. Right. But as public servants, those are our clients, and we serve them with dedication.
Now, the platform that has been highly being used over the last few months, so to speak, is a digital platform, online. That falls squarely in your docket. Would want to know from where you sit, what is your current take on the current trend? We've been seeing caricatures that have been used to communicate political satire. Is it in an era where we are talking about misinformation and disinformation? What is your take about this particular development?
First, the digital space is actually growing very fast, and we have what we call the digital economy. Digital economy as a composition, as a percentage of overall economy, is growing. We have countries who have exceeded 40%. China, for example, 44% of the China's economy is actually digital economy. And when you talk about digital transactions, it's about digital platforms, it's about the economies which depends on that digital infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And for Kenya, we are very privileged that we embarked early as a country to build our digital infrastructure, connectivity to our counties, regions, and we enjoy very good broadband mobile connection across the country. And also we have built good infrastructure to almost every sub-county, to every county headquarters, and now we are going to sub-counties and down to the ward level. Mm-hmm. So we have very good infrastructure. Secondly, we are very good population, well educated and very tech savvy. So they adopt technologies quite fast. Like our mobile penetration, we have 66 million phones in the hands of the public, almost 120% penetration, more than the population. So it tells you the uptake. We are looking at some data recently, average hour spent, like in social media. Yeah. Kenya ranks amongst the top in utilization of the major digital platforms that we know, whether it is the Meta, the Googles, and so forth. So we are well placed as a country, and it's a positive thing. The only thing now is how do we use it? Yeah,
I like the question, how do we use it? Because yes. I want to know PS, ICT, as well as broadcast telecommunication. How does it feel, with a ministry that is charged with disseminating information by government, when you go across the social media platforms and we have satirical content that is seemingly mocking the president, or rather the executive, going about his duties? How does that make you feel? Let's start off with Edward Kisiangani. What's your take on that?
You see, we are in a democracy. Okay. And there are people in this country who take their democratic rights to the extreme. And they think that they are the only ones who deserve that democracy, that freedom to do as they please. But democracy also has rules. So it is not right for anybody to do a caricature around the president. It's not right. It's also not right to do it around a citizen. What we need to do as a society, it's not a ministry's thing alone. We need to see how we can use internet and the digital platforms responsibly. Mere legislation doesn't work, because some of these platforms don't belong here. They are operating overseas and they come here. Some of the people who throw blurbs at Kenya live outside, but they are Kenyans. So it's very difficult. The easiest thing for us in government to do is to close these social media spaces.
But
that is counterproductive, and we are not going to do it. But we think that there must be a penalty for people spoiling other people's names, spoiling the leadership, the reputation of the leadership without facts. The laws of this country are very clear. So we don't want to pursue individuals. But what I call on Kenyans to do is, as you practice your democracy and your freedom, you need to be responsible. Because one day, it's going to happen to you. Your own child is also going to do a caricature around you, and you won't like it. your daughter-in-law, your son-in-law would do something like that. Will you like it? So don't keep off this. As a society, as human beings, we have been endowed with a rational mind, Regina. Rational mind is what tells us not what is right and what is wrong.
What is wrong.
So if you are able to differentiate what is right and what is wrong, and do you know that if that you are doing is wrong and you would not like it to be done to you, please avoid it. I want to spend some time on this so that I explain something. Last year, we spent a whole 2 weeks in Paris to discuss internet trust and the responsible use of internet. The entire world is facing this challenge.
So it's not a Kenyan
problem. It's not a Kenyan problem, but we need to put certain things in place, certain regulations that cut across the world, so that if you run away after you do a caricature around a leader and without good evidence, the international law should catch up with you, because this is criminal.
So we're working at ring fencing.
Yes, we need to do that.
Okay. Now, ICT, digital economy, before we take our quick break. How are you working at also tapping at this? Because it's a new communication tool.
Yeah, first, I want to say we've done quite well in this year, unlocking opportunities in the digital space. We've had engagement with top digital platforms, Meta, for example, the owners of Facebook and all the other platforms. And we've discussed how Kenyans can benefit by using these platforms. These platforms are so huge. We have currently 5.5 billion people in the world who are connected to the internet. This is a huge opportunity for us. It means we can attract tourists to come to our country. We can reach out to investors to come to our country. It means also we can create content as Kenyans and as creatives and be able to put on those platforms, and we can monetize something which was not there. Meta, for example, unlock monetization in Kenya out of a lot of engagement, and we thank His Excellency the President, because he led in this. And even when we had difficulties about some of the platforms like even TikTok, we had engagement even at State House with this platform, and looking at how can we take advantage of this platform. So to our youth and all the other users, we need to focus on how can we use these platforms to monetize, to grow our economy and take our country to the next level. Secondly, in the public service, how do we adopt these emerging tools, animation, to communicate
better. We'll pick it up from there. We're taking our first break on The Shift tonight, and our big question on The Shift is that how do you rate government's performance, this year on a scale of 1 to 10? Tell us where you're watching this particular broadcast from and why you give the response that you did. We take a quick breather. We'll be back.
Mamlaka ya ukusanyaji ushuru nchini inakuletea kampeni ya umma ya G-Nice na Risiti Legit. Thibitisha risiti yako ukitumia app ya Risiti Legit, upate nafasi ya kuibuka mshindi wa zawadi kemkem kama vile shilingi milioni 1 pesa taslim, laptops, televisheni ya inchi 50, smartphones na zawadi zingine. Siku ya Jumatano tarehe 11 tutatembea Makueni na Kitui, maeneo ya Salama, Sultan Hamud, Emali, Makindu, Kibwezi, Wote, Mtito Wandei, Ukia na Makuyuni. Pata app ya Risiti Legit kwa Google Play Store au App Store kwa maelezo ya kuingia katika mashindano ya Risiti Legit. G-Nice na Risiti Legit. KRA, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sport,
Faith Kipyego is a class
music, entertainment news, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
ni sahi ishafika na ni kubwa kubwa. Kweli? Hii Kristi ni bomba na Blue Santa kupitia star 570 hash option 1. Rudia. Star 570 hash option 1. Iko PlayStation 5 na 55 inch TV na iko 500,000 Kenyan shillings. Na mbuzi 1 million Kenyan shillings na Samsung S24 Ultra. Na mbuzi moja iko 2 million Kenyan shillings na iPhone 16 Pro Max. Na mbuzi mbili. Blue Santa amekuja na zawadi kibao na ni kubwa kubwa. Hapa kuna ndogo ndogo, hapa Christmas ni bomba.
Kamene. I keep on telling you to retire from speaking English, but you are like that stubborn girlfriend who cannot even go after breakup.
Attention, Baroque ladies, the golden boys have just arrived.
Bishop, yeah, this is yours. For being an obedient and hardworking student.
Wow. This class is full of haters. Haters!
As from today onwards, yes, you are not a physical physician, but you are a mortuary mortician. Kinyanji, you are a really miracle worker. Not yet, eh? The miracle has not yet been done.
Thank you very much. If you're joining us, this is A Shift, and tonight we are asking you to rate the government's performance in this 1 year, 12 months that is, on a scale of 1 to 10. Include why you're giving us that particular rating and where you're watching this particular broadcast from. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1. I'm joined by none other than PS ICT and Digital Economy, Engineer John Tanui. Far left, we have PS in charge of Broadcasting and Telecommunication, Edward Kisiangani. Now, the latest surveys have indicated a decline in public trust when it comes to, in government institutions. So what are you doing in your capacity, to rebuild this trust? Let's start off with you, Edward.
Regina, this is very interesting, and you ask this question. Surveys are done by people. I want to know their sample size, the demographics, who they are asking questions, what sort of questions are being asked, are they objective, do they attract an objective answer, or they're being led into a survey. And I'm saying this because in some of the survey, the pollsters that are doing these things, they have their own agenda. Around 2022, I think you saw surveys which rated President Ruto as going to lose elections. And you know how they did it. So these surveys, even you people in the media and our friends in this media, because this is our space, we need also to ask the scientificity, question the scientificity of these surveys. So before we know whether the conclusions can be scientifically tested. If you go, the reason why I'm telling this, yesterday I was in Kakamega with the minister and the prime cabinet secretary with my brother Tanui. The support for the president's agenda is massive. We were in Kakamega, and people came to the town hall. We talked to them. We explained why these digital hubs are going to be set up and the benefits they will have. We moved down to Mumias, and we were talking to what you look like as a crowd, not an organized audience. And they were very happy with what we were doing. So when now you get to Nairobi and you hear there are surveys, you need to ask whether these surveys followed the rules of research or not. So I don't want to question that, but what I want to tell you is that anytime you receive these surveys, look at the details. Beyond so I do not agree with the surveys that could be saying that the public trust in this administration has dropped. Criticism can be there because we can do better. You can see Tanu is talking about 7. I'm talking about 8, but we can improve. We are striving to improve every other day, and the president demands that we do that. But I don't think it is this narrative about the survey, which says that government's trust in government's coming down. It's not entirely correct, and a lot of us don't agree with it. I think we need to commission a survey where we agree on the rules of the game, all of us, and then from there we can say if the results come, we accept. But these surveys which people do, sometimes you see even online, people wake up, those who are not even trained in doing survey, Regina, then they say they are rating ministers. They are also rating. They don't even know our performance contract. They are rating PS. Yes, so I don't agree with it. With that, but they have a right to continue with those surveys. But I think
if the government, do you feel that the country is headed in the right direction?
Under President Ruto, this country is on the right direction. It is very transformative, and people will realize it. I'm telling you, when the president finally finishes his terms, you will see many people will say, "Can we change the constitution?" Do you remember?
No, we will get to that later.
Yes, but I'm telling you, no, Regina, you don't understand. You are interfering with me. I'm telling you this because I understand. What the president is doing is a game changer. He's changing things which have affected us since 1963, and people have come to a point where they think it is their duty to suffer. Now, when they start changing, when the president says, let's go this direction, they find it hard to adjust. But slowly, you have seen people are picking that foundational arrangement that my brother Tanui talked about. After some time, this foundation is over. Now it's the implementation. People will love this.
We will keep tabs on that. But then how does government then justify, the performance amid accusations of mismanagement and inefficiencies in certain sectors? Because it has come out.
So when we talk about perception, sometimes it's founded on what did we promise and what did we deliver. And if we focus on that, when we say it, we will lower the cost of living. Fact speaks. We've lowered the cost of living. Cost of food has come down. We are grateful that also the rains favored us, and that for the first time you have seen the inflations in a long time come to the low of 2.7. That's a huge impact. And you remember one of the dissatisfaction we had was people were going to streets because of hunger, because of food. So that's been achieved. And when we talk about transformation, we've got to look at what other countries and other regions did. We always compare ourselves with the East Asia because their transition was just recent. It's within their lifetime that the transition happened. For our country, there are things we've done very well as a country over the years, like transitioning from primary to secondary school, sorting the issue of ensuring there is no child left out because of not able to access funding. We've had CDA funding to support. We have so many funds to support education. But where we've never had very serious programs is how to create jobs as a country. And for the first time, you look at most of our programs is how do we align our programs towards creation of jobs. And this is what now we are focusing at. Look at housing. When we look at housing, yes, it is meant to improve our urban living, to ensure the people who are leaving our academic institutions and coming to the job market do not go to a slum place. They will find a decent place to work. Secondly, there are many young people already out there from diploma courses, degree courses in various professional areas. We need jobs for these people. Thirdly, if you look at the number of units, we are talking about the last 3 years, probably 1,000 units have been completed. We are talking now about 130,000 plus. And looking at probably in another 3 years, we'll have finished 300,000 units of houses. That's 30,000% increase. And what it means to our country is it will generate new industries which were not there before, because we are aggregating demand of products. Look, for example, lifts. That are used in buildings. Now with this kind of housing, you can actually attract an investor to put a manufacturing facility in Kenya to manufacture lifts. Okay. And these are some of the things that will help our country to actually transition. You look at very interesting when we were discussing about the digital superhighway as a government, we talk about the 100,000 kilometers. And we said we want to deliver this. Why? We want to connect every public institution. We have 74,000 public institutions that need to be connected. We committed 25,000 public Wi-Fis. We also said we want to work with private sector to increase the number of homes and businesses that are broadband. And also we realized there is a cap in terms of the smartphones that are available to the people.
We have a farm that is actually doing local.
And for the first time, it's never happened before. And I want to stress that, because this is now the new addition into the economy. We are opening an electronic industry, which never existed 1.5 years ago.
Let me be the devil's advocate,
that you are able to go to an area. And if you want to check why it's very important to look at that, you need to look at the exports of a country. You go and look at our exports is about $7-something billion. Our imports is at 25 plus. So we are importing 4 times what we export. That's a measure of our productivity. Look at those other countries. Agriculture, for example, in South Korea constitutes 2% of the economy. Look at the electronics industry. It constitutes 25-30%. And what are those products? Electronics, smartphones, and all that. And this is where we want to take Kenya, because this is where valuable jobs will be open. And remember the trip the president had to the US, just to mention that.
I get. Before we digress, before I forget my point there, you have talked about, the 10,000 kilometers that you're looking at in terms of 10,000 for connectivity.
Yes.
While we're talking about that, there are reports that we're getting that even the Wi-Fi hotspots that were set up by government, some of them are non-operational. So what are you doing about this?
So a number of them, we had some challenges in a few of them, but I want to assure you, out of the 100,000 kilometers, we have done now 13,000 kilometers. There are places that didn't have fiber connected. But now they are connected. For example, I come from Baringo County. We didn't have a fiber from Emining to Kabarnet to Kapartonjo. Today it's connected. And so are many other locations in the country that did not have fiber connected, but we already have these connections.
You've mentioned the education. Let's go with the challenge.
The challenge you have mentioned is that we are challenges in terms of some of the public Wi-Fis, because the location of the market, the location of stage where we are putting, normally we don't have public facility there in terms of a building. So we had to work with the market organization, the business people in the market, and sometimes an individual had to power the Wi-Fi, and we had challenges on power. We had places where we are locating, maybe the county government is paying. So we are aligning this, and now we are working with our colleague from PS Housing and Urban Development, who is in charge of markets, so that we are align and resolve this issue. The other thing is we have changed also the model in which we are deploying this infrastructure now to ride on the existing Kenya Power infrastructure. These are more secure, these are more easier and faster to deploy.
You've talked about education. Now we have the digital literacy program. How are students in off-grid areas actually benefiting from this program? Critics have come out to say that this is actually marginalizing them more than they were marginalized. What's your take on that?
First, I want to still say, one is we address the issue of ensuring that everyone can access the broadband by ensuring there is affordable smartphones in the country, and our mobile network operators have done a very good job. They have provided easy ways to access a device, and you can pay over time. That accesses. One over the other challenges was we have location where maybe there is no fiber, it is quite far, it's not economical to deploy. And we looked at all options available. And technically, looking at technology aspect, we've solutions like the low Earth orbiting satellites, which Starlink, we know of Starlink. This brings equity that you can have a digital hub established anywhere in the country. And if you find it is not near any of the existing infrastructure like fiber, you can deploy, and we've done a few of them as a pilot in some of our TVET institutions, and the performance is good, and it works best maybe when there is no existing infrastructure. So we have solutions to bring equity so that no Kenyan is disadvantaged.
Now, when you're talking about, before we delve into telecommunications, I can see Kisiangani wanting to butt into this conversation. But there's also rising concern, on data privacy. We had an experience with the WorldCoin, identity theft. How is government actually working at improving cybersecurity?
The digital space, just like the physical space, has some of its risks and challenges. One of them is cybersecurity, the other one is data privacy, data protection. And we are very happy as a country that we have legislation and institutions which are helping us. We have the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. These have put in place regulations which govern how data is handled in the country. And anyone who is involved in handling any personal data has obligations to comply. And there's a way you can report in case there's an issue. So we can say as a country we have put infrastructure in place to guarantee our data protection and their privacy. And all the players are encouraged to make sure they comply. On the other aspect, on cybersecurity,
yes,
we've faced issues, but we are very happy. We have looked at working jointly, private sector, public sector, and our experts in the cybersecurity, because our first defense is the capability of our professional in cybersecurity, our professional in ICT, to make sure we deploy infrastructure with security by design.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we delve into, telecommunications and broadcast.
Yeah.
In very few words, unpack for us the government's communication strategy.
The government's communication strategy is simple. Action.
Action.
Yes, you don't communicate things you are not doing.
Thank you. Let's pick it up from there. So how is the communication between the President's office and the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, being managed?
It's fine. I think there is a misunderstanding here.
Okay.
Let me explain something. The ministry is in charge of communication policy. Ours is policy to give directions on how people can communicate. But everybody who works in the government and believes in this government is a communicator around government. It's not for and the president is overall, and the president communicates. He's the chief communicator within the country. He has his communication team. There are many things he can communicate without any reference to us. But all of us in government, for us, once we give the policy, everybody who is involved, if Tanui is doing ICT, he must communicate around that. If another person is doing healthcare, they should communicate about that. But the best way to communicate, and it's our policy in government, is not to tell people we are doing this alone. But people see us doing it. As I told you yesterday, we were in Kakamega.
Okay.
Around Mashujaj Day, Tanui and myself were in Kwale. We discussed about the government agenda, then ended up in launching, a digital center at the same place, so a few kilometers away. So when you look at ourselves, people are saying, government is not communicating. What do you want us to communicate, apart from the fact that we are acting, we are working? We are in the fertilizer sector. The way we are communicating is, if you travel, I think, Tanu, from Kakamega, you might have come by plane. I came by road. When you check, if you are in Narok, you will see a lot of maize outside, which is being dried. You go to Rift Valley, near your home, there's a lot of maize which is drying. That maize doesn't just occur. It comes because somebody went to the farm to produce the maize. And if you don't have the right fertilizer, you didn't get the maize. But if the maize is there, you have communicated.
They might have bought the maize not from the government subsidy program. They might have got it from a...
No, the maize is coming from the farm. The statistics we have is that the food production has gone up. In fact, the problem, and you know that, this food production, why was it not up in 2022?
Because first of all, we had, according to the report by KNBS, that was the economic outlook of 2022, some of the reasons were brought up is, first of all, there was poor or rather erratic weather patterns. And also there was the cost of fertilizer, or rather farm inputs, which has been the bane to farmers.
Yes, but we have brought down the cost of fertilizer, and I can testify, Tanui is also a farmer. We have, even on our small farms, we have increased production. So therefore, what you are seeing there is not an accident. I think we have lived for a long time thinking that things can happen without us doing something about it. We have problems in this country. And until we set the standards for acting to change everybody's thinking, we change how we do things. Things are not going to change just because we are thinking they should change. And we have to take hard choices to say this is the pathway and this is where the president is taking us. let us correct things there today so that the children who are being born today, first of all, we are not doing this for elections. I want to because the notion that when you see people talking about this in government, they are talking about elections. That
and on top of that, we're also thinking that from where you sit, how are you communicating government policies without seeming as if you're conducting PR stunts? Because that's in the public domain.
Yes, but let me tell you. You talked about connectivity. I've said everybody is a communicator. Yesterday, I want to go to the latest so that even Kenyans who are watching this show can testify. We didn't communicate that we shall build, we shall have a digital hub in Kakamega. We went there and demonstrated the wananchi were there. We went to Mumias and did the same. When we went to Kwale, we had donated computers from our ministry and given to a vocational training center. We did not just announce to people we are there. We did it. We went there and did it. So it's not about just public relations. Many of us are in the field doing that. So if you really don't see that we have opened a digital hub, if you are not seeing, there are people in this country who are, Tanui has just talked about the fiber. And
there are people who are actually seeing.
Yes, if you move around the country, you will see a green line. A green line in several places now beginning to run on the power points, power poles. Before we did that, there was digging, but we have abandoned that because it's very expensive. Now we are using the Kenya power lines. And any Kenyan, ask any Kenyan if they have not seen a green cable.
Good question. Now that's a good challenge.
Is that lies?
Let's ask Kenyans what they think.
Is that public relations? No, Regina.
No, let's ask
you have to correct these things because at least even you are a voice of the people because this is a public broadcaster. If you talk about public relations, is it true that the president's initiative on housing is a lie or there are no houses? Because this public relations story is very irritating. No. So is that a lie? Now, in terms of connectivity, all these public hospitals have been connected. If you go there, is it a lie that we are talking about
Good
things?
Questions. Let's ask the members of
Where is
Parliament.
the public relations you are talking about?
Now let's ask the public. Not me. I'm just a moderator.
You're a member of the public also.
At this point, I'm a moderator. Before we hear, let's hear from the public, then we'll come back to have you respond.
Yes, okay.
So tonight we were asking you to rate the government's performance on a scale of 1 to 10. You get us on our various platforms, including X at KBC Channel 1. And the Ministry of Information Communication and the Digital Economy is here with us. So you can also get on their X platform and give that particular response. We have none other than the two principal secretaries. We have Edward Kisiangani, who is in charge of Broadcast and Telecommunications. And my immediate left is none other than Engineer John Tanui, in charge of ICT and Digital Economy. How do you rate government? And what do you want, what are the recommendations in 2025? Let's have Abdullahi Khalid with what Kenyans have had to say in regard to that matter.
It's been 2.5 years since the Kenya Kwanza government took office, with the new administration promising to fulfill the campaign promises. But has the government prioritized the concerns of Kenyans? Join me as I engage with Kenyans.
Aswa kuhusu mimi binafsi, kwa upande wa sekta ile mimi nimeona mafanikio kwamba kwa sababu alituahidi watu wa bodaboda hawatasumbuliwa na serikali. Aswa hiyo ameachieve sana.
I must say that this government has had certain failures. In terms of employment, the majority of our youths are not yet employed.
Wakuje ghetto ground, waone vile vijana wako juu ya mawe. Wakuje waone vile vijana wanaendelea kuteseka.
Hivi sasa vile alipanga ofisi yake, tumeona at least inaweza kuwa nzuri. Kwa hii miaka tunaelekea.
What I'm longing for in 2025, that they will hear us as citizens, they will listen to us and do something.
I think they should rectify areas like on the side of education. They should put more money on education, which is a bit lagging behind. They should also put much money in agriculture.
Kenya has really done amazing work, and I would like to commend them and congratulate them for the excellent work they have done as far as migration management is concerned.
Well, that is what you had to say in regard to how you rate the government on a scale of 1 to 10. We are not done with the shift. Get on X at KBC Channel 1. Tell us why you're rating the government as so. Support this by telling us how and where the government needs to improve, and also include where you're watching this live broadcast from. Tonight we're looking, or rather taking stock of the 12 months of 2024 through the lens, or rather through the eyes of the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy. And the two principal secretaries are here. From what Kenyans are saying, they want the government to come down to their level. Kujeni ground, that's what one person has said. Kujeni ground, muone mavijana wamekalia mawe. Yes, that basically unemployment is still a challenge. They want the government to come down. What do you have to say?
First, I agree we should interact more with the citizens, and these some of the programs my colleague P.S. Kisiangani has mentioned over actually on Monday, we were in Kakamega and Mumias. And this is something we've initiated. We've set up almost 272 digital hubs across the country. And we've been engaging the youth in these digital hubs and also doing town halls. We've done it in Eldoret, we've done it in Narok East, we've done it in Kwale, we've done it in Kabarnet, and we were in Kakamega. And we find it's very valuable for us to engage, because we realize also they need more engagement and sharing successful cases. For example, monetization on Facebook. Some didn't believe it's true until some of them were able to share how they've been able to monetize and show what they need to do. There is also what we call policy requirements on those digital platforms. There is compliance to community guidelines that are required, and they are able to share. Those who are unable to monetize at times is because of the things they post, how they use those digital handles. You cannot choose for something contrary and still expect it to use it to monetize. So those are some of the things we've been able to do. And also
on that line, because you've talked about monetization,
yes,
there is also, when we monetize a certain percentage, we've introduced digital service tax. Those who are in these particular platforms are saying that we are earning, but still government is taking from us. What would you tell?
So one of the things is, first is we want to make this digital space very profitable to our people. We want to make sure access to these digital platforms is available across the country, and those are the things we are focusing on. And we are looking at how to increase value by our people in earnings in those digital platforms. Yes, we are working with existing digital platforms, the Meta, the Google, and they are earning. Kenyans are earning. Some of the figures they share are impressive. They are not small money. They are able to earn on those digital platforms. The others is we are also looking at how to unlock more online work at the global for Kenyans to be able to access. We are also looking at how to attract business process outsourcing centers to Kenya. Those who have set up here are very proud of the Kenyans' quality of work. So we believe there will be more earning, and Kenya's composition or percentage of digital economy will increase. So in terms of tax in that space is something that we believe in the long run, like the countries like China now, where digital economy already constitutes 44%. So it means in terms of contribution also to countries' development must come from both the physical economy and the digital economy. The other thing is,
let me bring in
we must invest also in developing this sector. There are countries who have made their digital economy quite very vibrant. US, China, South Korea, these are some of the top countries that we are looking at. And we are looking at what kind of infrastructure we need to put in the country so that Kenya can stand top in the continent when it comes to the digital economy and the creative sector, those who can be able to create. Animation, gaming.
I like
these
where you're
are
coming,
top,
because
top areas.
I also want to hear from Bwana Kisiangani on what exactly is being done to support the orange economy. We're talking about film industry and such, because that's what he's talking about. Because while we're talking about, we saw a change in the tax policy that also, gave incentives in terms of these particular equipments, but then the platform in which to broadcast.
You see, if you watched the president's town hall yesterday, these issues that you are asking came up, and the president executed, gave the answers correctly. We need to clean up this area because it is not just even the tax. The focus on tax is rather thin. But the main problem you can see, sometimes you go to YouTube yourself. You probably want to download some music and play it. And then after the first track has played, you see Kenyan-made adverts appearing in between. And they are not on, the value they give to that platform is huge, but they get peanuts. So we need to organize there and say, even the people who are coming, because when the people talk about the digital tax, they are only talking about the fact that maybe we are targeting Kenyans. But what about the products which are getting out and people are picking them, and the government wants to protect these innovations locally, so that, and the Tanui has not just mentioned that point, we want to set up our own platforms where we can restrict access to these products so that people don't just pick them and then they start using them as adverts in foreign platforms, in foreign countries, and then we get nothing out of that. They have to pay tax. They have to pay some money for using them. But when now it comes to local innovations, you know, in the KBC, you have seen, in fact, we have really encouraged KBC to make sure that they do local content through Studio Mashinani, which is again run by KBC, and we would like to expand that very shortly because we have just about 7 across the country, and we want to increase. We want to have Studio Mashinani in every county for 7 counties. We want to teach those skills around the Studio Mashinani. They can make films, but when they make these films, how are they going to be used without being pirated by anybody? We need to protect them. So part of the tax is not going to come from, the taxes that we're talking about are not just taxes about the people making money within Kenya, but also we need to check out those who are exploiting our kids. So it's a cleanup exercise which is going on, and this cleanup exercise will result into a lot of Kenyans earning more money, and we need that time to clean up this exercise. Right. If you ask the people that have been in this industry, do they think that this country has been better? Do we continue with the status quo, or as a responsible government we must clean up and help our citizens to reap maximum from this industry?
That's a good question.
Yes.
Now, since we're talking about maximizing on benefits,
yes,
allegations of excessive use of force against journalists is still persistent. What are you doing about it?
You know, these allegations, government has no interest, totally no interest in harassing.
Okay, no one is interested in harassing journalists. We'll pick it up from there. Let's take a quick breather, then we'll come back. You'll tell us what you're doing about ensuring our safety, even here, live from Bomas. We'll be back.
Are you in trouble?
We don't, are we? Am I? Let's take a quick breather, we'll be right back.
Star 570 hash. Option 1 kuna PS5 na ni full package na inakuja na JBL Party Box. Hiyo boom experience pia iko.
Well, welcome back. This is The Shift. And before we took that quick breather, we were talking about what is the Ministry of Information, Communication and the Digital Economy doing to ensure that this persistent, harassment of journalists becomes a thing of the past. I have my principal secretaries on set. We're with you, Mr. Kisiangani.
Yes.
What are you doing about it?
I think every case must be looked at separately. This blanket condemnation of government, as if government's duty is to harass people, is not correct. Sometimes some of the things that happen in any violation against journalists is not sanctioned by government. Government doesn't sanction that. But maybe sometimes journalists get caught up in a chaotic pandemonium which also ordinary citizens are part of, and there are problems about identification of people as journalists. That can occur, but it is not because government is targeting any journalist directly. Because when you go to a public place, there is a code for you on how to behave as a journalist. But sometimes you have seen in the past journalists riding in vehicles which are owned by opposing factions. And in that case, sometimes people are seen as related to a particular faction when they are just probably performing their duties. So what is critical is for journalists to cooperate with government, especially security officers, to identify themselves in advance if there is going to be an event and say, we are here as journalists and you can identify us with this mark, maybe a jacket or something like that, and we shall perform our duties here. Once they are like that and identified, I don't think anybody can cause a problem. But if they are all involved in a pandemonium and sometimes they don't identify themselves very well, sometimes the security forces can mistake them for that. But there is no deliberate effort. We have protected the security of journalists. In this administration, you haven't seen us even close any radio station. We haven't closed any TV station. You saw we had Mandamano in this, but we are extremely tolerant as a government. So where there are abuses and there are genuine abuses, the law must take its course. The security forces should take a place. And if it's security people are the ones...
I'm coming up with the security people.
Yes,
because you said we have had incidences that have been recorded on live broadcast. Journalists are dressed in their official outfits, branded, media, but yet their equipments get confiscated. Even one lady was shot during the demonstrations, yet they were there executing their mandate.
Yes, but you know what? All of us, Regina, all of us as individuals, as a corporate enterprise you call government, have a responsibility to follow the law. So if a security person abuses their responsibilities and deliberately harasses a journalist, it's no longer the matter of communication, the Minister of Communication. It's a security matter, and that matter must be taken up. It is a judicial matter, and it should be executed within the context of our law. But as individuals, we would like to assure the public, as individuals in this ministry, and as the ministry itself, we assure the public that there is no deliberate effort in this administration to harass journalists. And I'm willing to support any journalist who comes to me to say, this is the evidence, we have been harassed. I'll work with my team, my counterpart in the interior, to make sure that whoever has violated the rights of journalists is dealt with according to the law. But there is
take you up on that.
Yes, there is no deliberate.
Yes.
We work very many times. We meet journalists. In fact, tomorrow I have an event with them in the morning, just pre-Jamhuri Day celebrations with my colleague here, Tanui. We do that. We do not have, that's not our job. We were not voted in as a government to harass journalists. Our job.
We take it at that point.
These are reassurances important because you have raised this, and I wondered whether you are safe or not. We consider journalists are part of government, and I've emphasized this. You are members of the fourth estate, there is first, second, and third executive legislature and the judiciary, and then you are the fourth one. You are part of government. So please, if a member of the judiciary harasses a member of the legislature, the law takes its course. So as part of government, you journalists, If a member of the fourth estate harasses the member of the third estate, which is the legislature, again, you go to court and make things work. Don't isolate yourself. You are part of government, and therefore you are one branch. And if one person from another branch harasses you, you know what to do.
Good. Now that we know what to do and we have your backing, we have various private sector media, who are going for months without pay.
Yes. I think that is directed to me. So
what are you doing about it?
I don't pay private firms to pay salaries. Does government
No,
help?
it doesn't.
Yes,
it
so
doesn't,
what's the
but
problem?
don't we have policies that ring fence around this? I know that it falls squarely on matters of labor, but then this is, communications and telecommunications as well as broadcast. These are journalists who are hurting out there, and they have been agitating. They have been on the streets demanding better work, pay for what they have done and work environments. What do we do?
I don't know whether you are mixing the two things, but let me tell you, the first thing we did as a ministry, new officials in the ministry when we came in, we have talked to our brothers in the media and sisters and told them that they need to change the business model. Just like I've been telling you people in KBC, that we need to vary our business models. For example, you see a lot of people in the media, especially the print media, who are used to thinking money can be generated from a newspaper sold on the streets. It's no longer working. It used to work, but right now it's not working. So we need to diversify, go onto the digital platforms to expand the products that we deal with within this domain, so that people can be self-employed but still serving the media. I don't think that we have explored that enough. So as government, with this digitization working, I think there is opportunity for us to expand the space for media operations and make money for journalists, especially the freelancers who do not want to be employed. Right. But there is also another bit that I would address, because this is we have already made up a decision through the support of the president and the entire government. We knew that before we came into office, the bill for media houses was about 1.5 billion shillings in advertisement money, which had not been paid. So what the president advised us is this: for now, as government, since we have taken over, whatever little we collect in taxes, let us pay the media houses without creating a backlog. So we started around 2022 December paying. But we had revenue problems, which you understand. We were not doing very well. We were not creating much in the economy. So it was tough, but we tried to pay. But there was also another move with the guidance of the president, that all the bills that are contested, and we went back to 205, which had not been paid by government, even within advertising and other sections of government, also should be verified so that they are paid. So this money, some bills are still being verified because we handed them over to Treasury, but there are others which have no question marks. But we incurred, those bills were incurred before this government came into office. In a few days, because we are already processing, out of that money, government is going to pay media houses 627 million shillings, which was a backlog of pending bills. Okay. But Regina, you have to be very realistic. Even if we pay all this 1.5 and it's verified, or we are paying very shortly the 627, it doesn't come to solve the permanent problem of unemployed journalists. We need a sustainable program where they are able to be creatively engaged within the social media spaces, within the social platforms, the digital platforms, to do products which can attract money rather than just sticking to being media houses being paid.
Traditional media, go hybrid.
Yes, so we need to get into the new digital platforms to help the media. So we are willing, and just to show that in the ministry we are willing to do that, one of the things we have done, which is very critical in the recent past, you had, we assembled all stakeholders within the media industry, what we call the sector working group. I think you heard about it. It has presented a report on how we can reform the entire media sector to make sure that it can create jobs it can be a source of investment for many people in this country, and they have presented a report. There are certain things that we need to implement without necessarily going to parliament, but there are others which need legal attention, and then from there I think the reform sector will be done. So a government which calls private media to attend several meetings to reform the sector, you cannot say that government doesn't like the media or the journalists. We have demonstrated by it that we love the media, and we are going to work with the media without any restrictions.
We will hold you accountable to that. Now, as we work towards getting to a close, we'd want to know from where you sit in charge of ICT and the digital economy, how are we working at not repeating the mistakes that we have seen, the challenges that we have seen in 2024, and what does 2025 portend for this particular niche?
For 2024, I think we've made quite significant progress, as I mentioned earlier. Looking at, say, digitization. Digitization has been one of our biggest success, starting with services of around 350 to now close to 22,000 services which citizens can access. This one reduces the need to travel, so it lowers your cost. You can now transact any of the government services at any time. You don't have to wait for the working hours. So it has brought a lot of value to our public. The other thing is that this digitization has had direct impact. For example, some of the successes we talk of in agriculture. Besides the rain, one of the things is that we were able to have the right inputs. Then there is the subsidy, but also technology was used to ensure now you match the farmer with the actual land available, so that the inputs are matched. So technology has had direct impact on what we are doing. So what we're expecting now to see is some of the foundational things we are doing. We are going to see better impact in agriculture. We are going to see better impact in healthcare, because that's where we actually think a huge impact will be achieved. And we really want to encourage our citizens to register, because in registration is where we can be able now to have the right numbers and to ensure that no one is left behind. And we use technology to ensure now we provide these services to our citizens, and use technology to ensure that your data moves with you. When you visit any hospital, you are able to access your data. Some of the things we had laid foundation in the next year, we expect to accelerate connectivity in terms of connectivity to our public institutions, connectivity by working with our private sector, and also unlocking more opportunities. We talked about the digital platforms, which we've said they are very good, opening opportunities for our young people. But one of the other challenges we've discovered is that when you look at what percentage of digital platforms are local or indigenous, and you find there are very few. And yet these digital platforms are becoming economies on their own. They are called digital platforms economy. And if we don't have indigenous digital platforms as a country, it means in the long run, we will actually lose peak. So we must start working on building. And we are working with many partners. We are working with UNESCO, the UN, to see how do we grow this ecosystem. And we have a program called DigiCan, which we are looking at growing the digital platforms from around 120 that we see to probably 1,000, so that we can retain a portion of economy locally. And that talks about even the media houses. Because of the change in technology, we are looking at those digital platforms to be the new marketplace. Through that space, once you have the numbers, you are able to advertise content, and you create a new ecosystem. We are also looking at new areas, the SMEs in the tech space, companies which did not exist in the past, software development, to see new companies who are able to manufacture softwares locally and to be used within the country, and also to export. So these are some of the things we are looking at, working with them in the coming days. Last week, Friday, we were privileged working with the UN agencies, UNDP. We were able to launch a startup ecosystem in Kenya, green tech, focusing on green technology. We call it Tumbuktu. It's part of 10 innovation hubs in the continent, because we want to grow potential of startups. Startups and SMEs are the biggest promise for creating jobs in the African continent, and also creating new wealth When we see the big technology companies we know of today, they started also as startups. We must create that ecosystem that will make it possible for our SMEs, for our startups, and for our innovators to be able to create the ideas and take it to the next level.
Now, Kenyans have taken to social media to raise several issues.
Yes.
And what is the government's take on, Elon Musk, Starlink, wanting to actually get into the Kenyan ecosystem?
When you talk of technology, technologies keep on changing. In the past, we used to use microwaves to connect one base station to another. You used to see very big round dishes. But when fiber came, all those dishes went down, and now you connect those stations with fiber. And so technologies keep on changing. So now there's a new technology that makes it possible to connect in some remote areas. It's quite exciting for us, but there's also concerns in terms of compliance to certain standards, in terms of regulatory by many countries. But in my view, in technology, this is very welcome. It's the direction in technology. They are talking about now the from satellite to the cell to the phone in the future. This is quite exciting, but still cannot outmatch actually the fiber connectivity, because once you have the fiber, you can achieve much higher speed rates than what you can achieve with the other, but it provides an alternative usage. So we are quite excited with what is coming, and we think the change of technologies will be even faster than what has happened in the past.
So we are open.
Yes.
Now, CS Broadcast Telecommunications, what does the future portend in 2025 for this particular space, given that we have ICT and technology here with us? And now there's a general feel from what we've heard is that communication by government is not at our ground, it's not at our level. How are you intending to tackle that as we come to a close?
I think we will keep going to our people to talk to them, and you have seen we have enhanced that interaction with the citizens. If we keep this going, they will understand the direction we are taking. So we are willing to learn from the criticism that people are giving us. We shall get like that gentleman who talked about watu wamekalia mawe, the vijana kwa ghetto. We need to know what skills they have, and if they don't have those skills, how can we help them? So we shall keep interacting. This government is going out. You have seen, even led by His Excellency, he's meeting a lot of people. So that's how we hope to operate in 2025. There will be enhanced interaction between government officials and the people. And then secondly, I just want to reiterate that because Elon Musk's telecommunication is under me. And you know, that is an option for fiber. It's not a replacement by fiber, because fiber is still by far a more efficient one. But what Elon Musk is doing, especially in far-flung areas where you even run the danger of the fiber being destroyed by people who don't understand why you are doing that, a satellite, because we're doing what you call the technology of the low orbital satellite, which satellites we can even lower them a bit from the skies, the distance is reduced from the base stations on Earth. Those ones are providing us with an option in areas which are underserved, and that's how the government is responding to the challenge, and that's why we license Starlink. It's not rivaling anybody. But in terms of 2025 going forward, I have a few things to tell you.
Go ahead, as you come to close.
First of all, I want every Kenyan to support the president's agenda. If you had any doubts about the direction the president is taking the country, that doubt should come to an end tonight. In 2025, throw your weight behind the president's support, because he needs everybody to carry out that agenda. Negative criticism is not necessarily a bad thing. We shall listen to the criticism, but as we listen, we shall also address what you want us to.
So there will be action.
There will be action, but then please throw your weight behind the president to execute his agenda, because the foundational work has been done and now it's implementation, and you will see more government people coming to you. Within the sector, I think that for us, We also have already received a report from the sector working group on how to reform the entire system. You know, we have the regulator CA, which is under my state department. It is regulating. But the old regulation that it was doing also is being overtaken by the new technologies. So it has also to enter into the new technologies to make sure that there are regulations that deal with the new technologies which are coming. And Elon Musk was quite a challenge, and now we are up to the task. So we have certain reform regulations which we have put in place. There is some little legislation we are doing that, but the regulator has now a bigger job cut out for him in 2025, and we are up to the task. You have seen there was already a disagreement between Starlink and Safaricom because they thought that Starlink was coming to interfere. But that is the job of the regulator, to make sure that nobody is locked out, no jobs are lost. So that reform in regulation is going on. There are regulations, we have 16 regulations already done, and we are moving to Parliament. The necessary approvals are being done through that process. But where we already have existing laws which don't conflict with the changing technologies, we are implementing. When you come to the broadcasting sector where you belong, we have, you know that KBC and the ministry, with this good relationship, we are saying that KBC must change the way it does its things. Content creation, business model, you have a lot of assets in KBC, land assets. How do you use them? How do you move away from your core duty of broadcasting and start managing assets? If you are not up to the task and they are your assets, what business model do you develop so that you benefit from those assets? That's what we're working with KBC in the new strategy, but also to develop a platform where we can develop our broadcasters, we can develop talents like yours. We are doing that across the board to make sure the atmosphere we are operating in is conducive enough to help our journalists to grow. Okay. So the broadcasting sector, we have not left it behind. We need to acquire new machines, new technologies, and make sure that the signals come on time. That's being done. So you need to know this, because before we close, I think also
30 seconds to close.
Yes, you know the Postal Corporation, the national addressing system, which will enhance e-commerce, which is a digital platform which Tanui is in charge of. But you can see we want the Posta to be the one-stop courier center for the Republic, and therefore they need us to have a national addressing system where they can deliver last mile to your own homes. Postal reforms are also going on in a big way, and the training at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, which is a part of this ministry, is very good. We have gone there and we have seen, but we want to help them also to make sure that that training creates state-of-the-art facilities, but also people who can come and participate in this industry.
Into the market.
Yes, and you know we want to change it from the school Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, because they were talking about mass media, to the Kenya School of Communication. So finally,
that is what we are looking at.
We are looking at
30 seconds.
Yes, so the reform agenda is on. What we need is the implementation. Where we don't have resources, we shall request. We also have development partners who will help us to do that. So I think 2025 looks bright. It's very good. And I think because you called this meeting here in Bomas, and you are our hosts here in Bomas, I want to send my congratulations to the head of public service, because you know, he has been spearheading some of these reforms on behalf of the president, and we have been working with him. Now that he has been honored because of his transformative leadership, we want to congratulate him, but also send greetings to His Excellency the President as we go for Christmas. Let God protect our President so that he leads the country in a wise way, and in 2025 we as civil servants, we want to assure him, his public servants, of massive support, and we call upon the rest of the country also to support the President. And we think that in December next year we shall be smiling, because the promise that we have is great.
Will be great.
Yes.
So that puts a cap on matters the shift tonight. This is the 6th episode. Basically, that is the first season of this transformative program. We look forward to seeing you into the year in 2025. Indeed, my guest has been none other than Principal Secretary Broadcast and Telecommunications, Edward Kisingani, as well as Principal Secretary ICT and Digital Economy Engineer, John Tanui. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
You're the one to confirm if we're going to have season 2, you will let us know. I'm Regina Manyara. Now I hand you back to Broadcasting House.
Thank you, Regina Manyara, for the comprehensive analysis, the government scorecard 2024. And on that note, we have come to the end of Prime Edition. Thank you for our feedback on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Our sign language experts tonight are Brian Muraru and Lansa Odingo. My name is Chuma Oding. Till some other time, good night and God bless you.
The young generation awakens on Y254, the leading youth TV station in Kenya. We treat you to current affairs, entrepreneurship, health, and human interest conversations.
It's art, it's culture.
Movies, gossip and trends, sports, drama.
We bring you a vibe like no other, straight to your living room.
To keep you informed, inspired, entertained, and most of all, refreshed.
We are such a vibe.
Y254. Imagine.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sport,
Faith Kipyego is a class
music, entertainment news, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hand. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
Cheza loto.